Welcome to our introduction to static and default routing. In this video, we will explore how routers direct network traffic using two key methods, static routing and default routing. A static routing is when an administrator manually configures specific paths for your data packets to follow through a network. This approach works well in small stable environments where the network routes are predictable. On the other hand, default routing helps handle traffic that does not match with any specific routes in the table. With the default routing, all traffic to unknown destination is sent through a single predefined exit point, simplifying network management in larger or external networks. By the end of this video, we will understand when to use static routes, how to configure a default route, and why these methods are crucial in network traffic management. There are three main types of routing: static routing, dynamic routing, and default routing. Static routing involves manually configuring routes, make it ideal for small stable networks, but it requires manual updates when network changes occur. Default routing is a special form of static routing where a single default route is set to handle all traffic for unknown destinations, simplifying routing in networks with a single exit point. And the third category, dynamic routing, other hand, uses routing protocols to automatically adjust and update routes based on real-time network changes, making it suitable for large and complex networks. What is static routing? Static routing is a method of routing where the network administrator manually configures specific routes in a router's routing table. These routes does not change unless manually modified, making static routing ideal for small or stable network with predictable traffic patterns. However, it lacks flexibility and requires manual intervention for updates when the network topology changes, making it less suitable for dynamic or large-scale networks. Let's dive into the pros and cons of static routing, a fundamental concept in network management. Starting with the advantages, simplicity. Static routing is easy to configure and manage, especially in small and stable networks. It does not require routing protocol, so it uses minimal router resources and bandwidth. Static routing gives administrators complete control over the network path, ensuring predictable data flow. Since routes are manually configured, it adds a layer of security, reducing exposure to certain protocol-based attacks. Now, let's look at the drawbacks. Yeah, as a network pro, managing static routes can become overwhelming due to the manual setup record. If network changes occur, such as adding new routers, administrators need to manually update the routes. Unlike dynamic routing, static routing does not automatically adjust if a link goes down, leading to potential downtime. Configuring and maintaining static routes can be labor intensive, particularly in large or frequently changing networks. Now let us see how to configure static routing. Router 1 having IP address 172.16.0.6 and serial interface 192.168.20.1 on fast Ethernet interface. Router 2 having IP address 172.16.10.2 and serial interface 192.168.10.1 and fast Ethernet interface. Similarly, router R3 having IP address 172.16.10.5 and serial interface 172.16.0.1 and serial interface 0 110.10.10.1 and fast Ethernet interface. Now we have only static routes for router 3. So the router 3 is configured in the following manner. Here, provided the route for the 192.168.10.0 network, where 192.168.10.0 is its network ID and 172.116.10.2 and 172.16.10.6 are the next hop address. Similarly, the configuration of the router 2 also, and similarly the router 1 also. What is a default routing? Default routing is a simplified network routing technique where a router forwards packets to a default gateway when it does not have a specific route in its routing table for the destination address. This default route acts as a catch-all path, directing packets to a designated next hop router that handles traffic for unknown destination. It helps streamline network management by reducing the need for detailed routing entries and is commonly used in the situations where a network has a single exit point or to simplify routing configuration in large network. Now let us see the configuration of default routing. In this topology, router R1 and R2 are the stuff routers, so we can configure default routing for both these routers. Configuring default routing for router 1, following the configuration mentioning with the next hop address 172.16.10.5. Similarly, configuring the default routing for router R2 mentioning with the next hop address 172.16.10.1. Now let us see the pros and cons of default routing. Default routing simplifies network configuration by reducing the need for extensive routing tables, making it easier to manage and maintain the network. It is especially useful in stuffed networks or small networks where a single path for unknown destination is sufficient. By using a default route, routers can minimize the overhead of managing and updating complex routing tables. Similarly, the concept that default routings are single point of failure. The default route creates a single path for unknown destination, which can be a vulnerability if the next hop router or gateway fails. It may not efficiently handle traffic distribution or failover scenarios in more complex network topologies where multiple exit points or paths are needed. Traffic designed for specific networks that are not directly connected might experience suboptimal routing if the default route is used instead of a more direct path. Thank you for watching.